welcome back to Memories of the Musician. We have a great program for you tonight with an exceptional musician. Tony Janflone Jr. is going to be on the program in just a bit. Before I bring Tony on, a couple things. One is I want to note that this is now 1 year that I've had the podcast. We started last January 15th of 2025 with my first guest, Ernie Pontier, who's a great friend and was in my band for 20 plus years. But it's already been a year. It's hard to believe how fast time goes and how many great musicians over the course of the year that we've had on the program. And it's just so nice to share the stage with all of these wonderful musicians. Tony Janflone Jr. Is a wonderful vocalist, guitarist, composer, producer. He's done just about everything in music that you could do, and he also did a lot of teaching throughout the years too. I met Tony the first time face to face. It wasn't only but maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And it was a New Year's Eve gala. And interestingly, Tony had a female singer and a drummer with him, and they performed. We had a wonderful dinner. We danced. We got to meet Tony and got to talk with him, hear him play. It was wonderful. And interestingly, the people that we were with, there were 3 other couples besides my wife, Lana, and myself. And they were Kenny and Marianne Kovac, Steve and Janie Hawk, and Matt and Joanne Welch. And all of those guys have been guests on the program over the course of this past year. So now Tony Janflone is my guest, and anxious to bring him on. Before I bring him on, I do have I put together, he's done a lot of recording and a lot of his original music as well. And so I put together a montage you could just see some of the things he's done and hear one of his original songs. So I'm going to play this for you. After this is over, we'll talk a little about his bio, and then we'll bring him on. Here we go.
When I'm heavy-hearted, you mend me every time. It's the way you are, baby, that makes me glad you're mine. You bring joy to me, and it's understood. When I'm needy, you deliver the goods. Baby, you deliver the goods. Turbulent lifestyle, you overcome the force. Puzzling predicaments, yeah, for you are easy to sort. A heartwarming vision, a look, and there you stood. When I hunger, you deliver the goods. Baby, you deliver the goods. Well, I know heaven sent you down to me to ease my worried mind. A true perfect, I know that I will never find. And I know you would help me out of any kind of bind.
There you go. Tony Janflone Jr. Wow. That's great. That's great. There's a lot of great pictures. I saw the one in his studio. He must have about 10 guitars at least. So I'm going to read to you a little bit about Tony before I bring him on. Tony Janflone Jr. demonstrated exceptional musical aptitude from an early age, influenced by a wide array of genres, and his guitarist father. After earning high school music awards, he embarked on a national tour before returning to perform with family. A notable highlight during this period was receiving praise from the legendary guitarist Pat Metheny, who called him one burning guitar player. Tony further honed his skills and versatility in Texas, studying with masters like Pat Martino and performing with musical giants such as Louis Bellson, all while teaching students, including actor Henry Thomas. Upon returning to Pittsburgh, Tony established himself as one of the region's most sought-after guitarists. His career highlights include extensive studio work, composing jingles for major brands, and earning multiple music awards with the Tony Janflone Jr. Band, including 5 consecutive nominations for Pittsburgh's Best Jazz Blues Guitarist. He has shared stages with a vast array of music legends, including B.B. King, Carlos Santana, Jeff Beck, Steely Dan, and Dionne Warwick. His work has also reached national audiences with appearances on Billboard charting albums, BET, and PBS, as well as a featured performance on an international tribute album to Joe Satriani and Steve Vai. Currently, Tony continues to produce music and instructional content from his Keytones studio. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring Tony onto the program. Here he is right here. Let's see. There he is.
Hey, Vito. Wow. Man, what an introduction. Thank you. You did a really nice job with that montage, too. That was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always fun, doing those things. And the music was great.
Oh,
I love
thank
the
you.
tune. Yeah.
Thank you.
I actually, it's funny. There was a song, I'm trying to think what it is now. I can't remember the title, but I used another song. And then here, when I was going through your videos, it was on the video. So I had to go back and change the song I used for the montage. But it's okay. It was fun. So I got a good dose there. So how you doing? First of all, you're back in the area. I know for a while you moved out of Pittsburgh and moved south, right?
Yeah, well, we had a bizarre set of circumstances. It all started for me with an auto accident, and then I had another incident. My neck was pretty injured from the 2 incidents. Then in 2000, when, not 2000, 2020, when whatever that was hit, right? We were fine. And then 6 months into that, our house split in half. We're going to call that an industrial accident. We'll call it. Okay. So we lost our home and we had to move during the pandemic, and it was just hard to find housing. It was really, really difficult. So we ended up in South Carolina, but that turned into a bit more drama for us, because my first week there, I ended up in emergency surgery. Oh, wow. And it had to do with my neck. Somehow I got bacteria in my system, caused an cervical epidural abscess. And I went into emergency surgery because I had sepsis, and woke up. And the guy said, "Sorry, buddy, I had to fuse 6 of your vertebrae." So my neck is fused from C2 to T1 now. So I haven't played any live shows because of that. However, after a year of recovery, it took me a whole year before I could really play again. I began to write music again, and finally was able to practice and get my chops back. And so I'm good. I'm writing and recording and teaching and all that stuff. Not playing live shows right now, but I'm doing a lot of music. So
good. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand, because I had some issues myself, and put me in a position where, it was, but I'm a lot older than you, but it put me in a position where it wasn't comfortable to go perform anymore. And I was okay with it, because I played a lot of music in my life for many, many years. And
You sure did.
it was okay, to take.
I get that. And I, thankfully for me, I've been playing since I was very young, but I still, there's, that interaction with people for me was just critical for me. So I do miss that, but I have other ways of doing it now. That's all.
Sure, that's right. Well, speaking of when you were young, let me ask you the question about when you started studying music. Now, I know your father was a terrific guitar player as well.
Yes.
Played a lot of gigs and things. Now, I'm sure that was part of your inspiration, at least. And that, but
was.
How old were you when you started put a guitar in your hands?
Well, I actually started playing piano at 8 years old. And then 9 years old, I started playing the guitar.
Okay.
I was always fascinated. The guitars, they were sitting around the house and they were everywhere, and I would go pick it up. I mean, actually, it was funny. My dad had a music store when I was very young. And before I could play piano or guitar, I would go to his store on Saturdays, and they would pull every guitar off the rack and hand it to me, because I could tune a guitar up to pitch, because I heard a guitar tune so much, I guess, in my early years, that I could tune a guitar. And so they did that, and they would hand me the guitar. I would tune it up and give it back to them, and then they would put it back up on the rack. So I started tuning guitars before I could play them. But at 9 years old, I started playing, but I'll go back a little bit, because when my dad would practice, I would pretend to play. So, and it was actually, when I think about it, it was really good for me, because, I was practicing here, you know what I mean? I wasn't, I didn't know what I was doing with the plastic guitar that I had, but I was practicing. So I had a little see and say, and I don't know if you remember that contraption, but it was like a kind of a roundish thing that had a handle, and you could set it on the floor, but you'd pull a string, you'd point it at an animal that was on this see and say, and you pull the string and it'd say, "The cow says moo," But for me, it looked like a guitar amplifier, because it had a handle on it. And so I would take that and I would plop it down near where my dad was practicing his guitar. And I had my plastic guitar, and I would play imaginary guitar with him,
Yeah.
So that was probably the beginning. But 9 years old, I actually started to really play.
I have a picture I want to show the audience.
Oh my.
Yeah. What would you say? You're probably older than that, maybe 12 or something.
Yeah. In fact, that was, we had a band, and when I was a kid, I saw a movie called The Andromeda Strain. It was a science fiction movie.
I remember that. Yeah.
Okay. So our band, I named it Andromeda. And so we used to play at the local ice skating rink in Washington, PA, and pass the hat. And it was really great. We played, mostly rock and roll stuff. But I remember we played Edgar Winter's Frankenstein, and we played a lot of Kiss music. We played almost the entire Kiss Alive album. And I had platform shoes, because those guys wore platform shoes. And so it was actually pretty cool. So I guess that's probably 12-ish, 12 or 13. Yes, but it was a fun gig until people would walk across your guitar cords with their ice skates.
Oh, geez.
They would cut your cord in half. So that happened a few times, but it was really fun. It was nice.
That's awesome. That was your first band that you were in, huh?
Yeah, Andromeda.
Andromeda.
And
Wow.
then probably a year later or so, I was going out and playing jazz gigs with my dad. I mean, he had me, I remember us playing, and it's crazy the things you remember, you know, but I specifically remember like playing a tune called Miyako, which was a Wayne Shorter song. And we were playing, I can't remember the venue, but I played with him when I was like 13-ish, you know, and I would go out and do those gigs. And it was, you know, great experience for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're lucky that you had that. You had, you know, that in the family, and you had that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you know, I had the last week I had Eric DeFade on, and of course the DeFade family has a lineage of musicians, and you know there are other families as well. That Mary Farrow, her mother, you know, it's interesting to see that connection from, you know, the father or mother and to the child, and how that influence happens. And what would you say that music became your passion?
Well, I'll tell you what. Probably about 14 years old, I was really getting into it. 13 or 14. In 8th grade, I was playing in our middle school stage band. And at the end of the year, I had a teacher that was just so influential. And I hope I don't cry because the guy was that important to me. His name was Jack Seibel. And he ran the Trinity High School stage band. He was the band director there. But he came to one of my concerts and he said, I want you to play guitar with the stage band next year in your 9th grade year. And I said, okay. And he gave me such an opportunity because I went to the first, we had rehearsals after school at that point. They didn't have a class. Eventually, by the time I was a junior, I think we had a stage band class. So we had rehearsals then, but these were after school. And the first one I went to, he started throwing all the solos, the improvised solos at me.
Okay.
And I knew, I knew the major scale, and I knew the blues scale really well, and he would give me these solos, and I guess, he saw something. He said he knew I could phrase, like right away. And the guy just got excited over the smallest improvements that I made. And I'll never forget him because he was that, influential. I mean, he was really something. I'm still friends. His son Dorian and I talk all the time. And he passed away when I was a senior. He actually passed away on stage at a concert.
Oh my.
So, yeah. I don't know if you knew a piano player named Don Yanko. Do you remember him?
No.
Don Yanko actually had Yanko, one of the car dealerships.
Chevrolet.
Yeah, and he was also like a race car driver, and he's a really good piano player. So Jack would call me up and wanted me to play shows with them. I mean, he got me really involved when I was a young guy, So by the time I was 16, I was serious. I was playing 3 nights a week in clubs with people when I was 16. In fact, when I was 16, I had a trigonometry class with a lady named Judith Cooper. And she was known as a strict teacher.
Okay.
And I went to class, but we played Wednesday nights. And did you know a drummer named Steve Treadle?
No.
Steve's actually in the video you'll see with Kenny Blake, with myself and I. We went to high school together, and we were playing in a band with older people, and we were playing. That was when disco was big, so we were playing disco clubs, and we were coming to school with 3 hours of sleep, and so I'm in trigonometry class trying to keep my eyes open, and Miss Cooper comes up to me and said, Tony, you're not really into my class much, are you? And I said, well, Miss Cooper, it's not that I don't like trigonometry. I said, I just don't see that it's going to figure much in my life because I want to play music. That's what I want to do. So she said, okay, young man, we're going to the guidance counselor. And I was like, oh, great, I'm in trouble. She takes me there, and another person I'll never forget. She says, can we get this young man a study hall at the band room so he can practice his instrument instead of taking my class?
Wow.
So right there, Jack Seibel, Judith Cooper were like so important for me because they, you know, they saw something in me,
Right.
and they encouraged it. And you need those people in your life, you know?
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, you mentioned Kenny Blake, and I do have a video. Let me show this
Oh,
because it's
cool.
pretty young here too, playing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. That was on BET. And it was a jazz program. And the host then was Donald Byrd, the famous trumpet player. And
Yeah.
I was so nervous. I got so
Oh.
nervous. we
Imagine.
were doing a sound check, and he came up when I was playing my solo in another song, and he got Vito. He was like right up this close to me, and I was like, oh my gosh. Donald Byrd's like inches from me, you know, so it was pretty cool. But and I had the mullet, you know, I looked like Joe Dirt playing guitar, but but it was fun. And that was Steve Treadle and John Hall, great bass player, and Joe Monroe, great keyboard player. We had a nice group that we were traveling with Kenny, and Kenny's great, you know, Kenny's
Yeah. I've heard him many times. And Joe Monroe, I've heard his name comes up pretty often.
Yeah, Joe's excellent. So was John. I mean, all those guys. Now, Steve Treadle, unfortunately, we graduated together. He passed away.
Oh.
Yeah, so I miss him. We were good friends for a long, long time.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So tell me about Brooks and Dee Paxton. It's like 1981-ish.
Okay, so that would be Brooks and Diane. But so I get a call, and you need to go to. Are you interested in a gig? You need to come to Charleston, West Virginia, to the Heart of Town Holiday Inn to audition.
Okay.
So I was like, well, okay, you know, I'll go check it out. And I went to the audition. He hires me right away. He says, you need to go downtown to downtown Pittsburgh, and there's a clothing store, and I can't remember the name, but it was a big clothing store down there that outfitted a lot of the bands at the time. And I had to go by, you know, get fitted for the sparkly vests.
Oh.
It was a show band, so I had to get the show band clothes, and it was something. But anyway, what a great experience for me. I mean, I never saw anything, Vito, before I went on the road. Our vacations when I was a kid were, if we took a vacation, was like Cleveland at the beach, you know, and so, and that was when the beach wasn't clean, and there were like, you know, a lot of dead fish on the beach, and then Johnstown, and hey kids, we're gonna go to the Flood Museum and watch the movie at the Flood Museum. So yeah, so I went from that to my first gig was in Florida, and I was like at the ocean, and I played Vegas and Lake Tahoe and just all over. I mean, we went everywhere in the country. So it was really cool. I got to see the Hoover Dam. I got to see the Grand Canyon. I mean, I saw so much. So, and besides that, they were so cool for me to be with. I was young. I mean, I was not long out of high school, a year out of high school, you know, and they had their kids on the road with them with a tutor. So Brooks and Di are married, and they had their 3 kids on the road with them. And one ended up playing drums right before I left. He ended up playing drums in the band. But the one ran lights. They had, I think one was running sound. They had their whole family involved, but they had a tutor, and they treated me like I was one of their kids. And to this day, I still feel like I'm one of their kids. They live in Florida. They're down, what is that? It's near Punta Gorda. Oh, what's that little town there near there? Anyway, they're not far from Punta Gorda.
Port Charlotte.
Port Charlotte.
Yeah,
that's it. So they're great people. Brooks was an excellent entertainer, multi-instrumentalist, entertainer. I learned probably more than you could ever learn in a school by just being around the guy. Everywhere we went, I watched him. He probably didn't know how much I paid attention, you know, like he was just so good with people because I was really shy. They actually had me sing my first song. I used to sing a little bit with our rock and roll band, but I didn't sing again for a while because I got really into just playing music. And my high school friends would make fun of me and call me Tony Janflone because I got into this thing where I wouldn't play with distortion on my guitar. Yeah. And I was into Joe Pass and George Benson and Wes Montgomery and all these, and which I still am. But I got to a point where I switched back to, you know, mixing it up a bit with, I learned to love playing rock and roll and blues and all that stuff too. But the guy was so good with people, and he was genuine. He wasn't like, it wasn't put on, you know. So everywhere we went, we got treated like kings. People would take us out to eat constantly because of they loved him so much. And he was good. I mean, like a really great entertainer. And I have to tell you something funny. He used to make it rain. We used to do MacArthur Park. Oh. And one of my jobs on the gig was to slide the water trough out during the thunderstorm when the lights were down and there was strobe lights flashing for lightning and everything else. I'm out on the floor and I'm pushing this water trough to the tape marks. And we were in, oh shoot, what's the place in Florida where the launches happen? The
Cape Canaveral.
Yeah, near Cape Canaveral. It's right. It's across the way from there. But anyway, we're playing there, and I step off the stage and I hear crack. I stepped on the water trough and I broke it. Oh, so geez. When the rain happened, it was all over the dance floor and everything else. So I'm out on the break, you know, hands and knees on the mopping up the floor. But I tell you what, I can't say enough good about those people. I love them, and it was an opportunity that I could never replace. Man, it was just really, really good for me.
Well, let me show you 2 pictures. This one here, and is that him playing trombone?
It is. And we used to do a Harold Betters song. That's probably him doing Rambunctious.
Okay.
There was a Harold Betters. He loved Harold Betters. So, okay. And that's his wife kind of rocking out on the keyboards over there. Yeah. So, and that guitar is an Ibanez George Benson model. It was my prized possession. And Vito, for guitars, they make these things called strap locks, so your guitar doesn't fall off. But I didn't have them. And one night, the strap came off and the guitar hit the floor and it jammed my jack up through my guitar. And I was, oh my gosh, it put a big hole in that guitar. I was so sick.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And then I have this picture here. This is the whole gang there, right? That
is. So that's me on the far right, at least on my right, as I'm looking at it. On the left, that's Norm Chenoweth. He's from Johnstown, PA. That would be Brooks's son, Sean.
Okay.
And he played drums. That's Brooks. And that is Bill. They call him Fro, Bill Mans, Bill Fro Mans, and then Diane, and then myself again on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
So I was pretty young.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All those formal pictures is funny.
Yeah.
They're neat. So let's talk about your dad, your late brother, and the Janflone band. And I have this photo here.
Yeah. As you can see, I had a perm. So did my dad. So
Yeah.
don't tell him I told you. That's my brother Victor in the back there on trumpet, and he just passed away a few years ago now. And but yeah, we had a family band, and that's actually, for me, it was really good training too, because having now a recording studio and putting together the music like I put together, I learned a lot by doing that gig in particular, because I had a Tascam Porta Studio, which was a 4-track recorder. So I played bass and I played keyboards, and we bought a Lindrum machine. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It was like at the time, it was like the king of drum machines, you know.
Yep.
And we bought a Lindrum. So I would put the backing tracks together for our trio. So which meant I had to learn all the parts. I had to learn the bass part. I had to write out the keyboard parts, the bass parts, and get all that together. And it was a lot of work, I'll be honest with you. And I would complain because I was the one that had to do it all. So it was a little bit of a drag. But when I look back on it, I go, wow, actually, that was invaluable, because it made me realize how music is put together, you know?
Absolutely.
In fact, I talk to my wife about this all the time. So I said, I wish I could listen to music like an everyday person does sometimes, because it's hard not to hear parts, right? Is it impossible for you to do that, Vito? I mean, it's, for me, I'm always listening to parts of a song, but really the listeners gather the whole, you know? So it's really hard to step back, and I do make myself do that, but I have to say that, you know, when you have to pull things apart all the time to learn them, you start listening. Like I would call her into a mix I was doing, and I would say, "You hear that hi-hat? That's too loud," you know. And she'd say, "I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy."
Yeah.
And so
I remember times in the car riding down the road, you know, with my wife next to me, and she'd say, we'd have the radio on listening to music, and she'd say, "Vito, do you hear the words of that song?" I'd say, "No." I says, "I hear what the bass player's doing, though."
Isn't that something? My wife knows every lyric to every song.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how do you know all these lyrics? She goes, "I don't know. I just listen to the songs."
Yeah, I never listened to lyrics. I listened to everything that goes on musically within the, you know.
So, but we have to, right? Because you can't, to compose music, you need to know how everything functions, you know?
We are architects of music. We are, you know, we're looking at the foundation and going up and how it's put together. When you have that viewpoint of music, that perspective of music, it's hard to get away from that. You know,
it is.
You're looking at as an architect would, right?
It is.
That's what I say.
Sure is.
Yeah. So tell me about this picture here.
Oh, so I got hired to play with the great Louis Bellson, and I was, well, number one, I was thrilled, and number two, what a genius and what a kind guy, because the first rehearsal when I had to go there, they set up my amp like right behind him. You know, everybody else's horn players are over here, you know, and the drummer's over here, whatever. And I'm like, oh, great. So he's going to hear every mistake I could possibly make. He's going to hear everything. And he ended up being just such a great guy. And the first thing he said to me, he said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Tony." He said, "My son's name's Tony. That's great." And he made me feel so comfortable. And he's, wow, what a genius. You know, some people just think he was just a drummer. Now, if he were just a drummer, he was one of the greatest drummers that ever walked the earth, right? Yeah. But Vito, he wrote his own charts. He wrote the whole band's charts. He was amazing. He was a great musician.
Yeah.
And I think he was married, you know, he was married to Pearl Bailey. So, but with super nice. He wasn't like Buddy Rich. Buddy was rough. I didn't play with Buddy, but I knew enough people that did, and he was like a tough. He was tough.
Buddy Rich. I remember one time I went to see Buddy Rich live, and this older couple was in the audience, and he was playing something, and they got out and started to dance. Oh, jeez. You would have thought he was going to have a bird right there. And he just stopped the band and he said, "This is not a dance band.
Oh
you
my
just
gosh.
sit down and listen to this band." You know,
That's insane. Yeah. He was famous for that. And then I don't know if you've heard the bus tapes with his musicians.
Yeah.
Oh my. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know how some of those guys did it. He was brutal. But Louis Bellson, just as kind and sweet and
That's
just really accomplished, humble, but
Yeah.
just a genius. You know, he was really a genius.
yeah, I love it.
It was just a really fortunate thing for me.
Yeah. So tell me about your long running gig at the Blues Cafe. 18.
That was another one. It turned into a gig. I used to play there with Kenny, and
Okay.
then it got to be where Kenny wasn't going to play there, and the owner called me, Pete Galamas, who I love those people. The Galamas family, they were great to me. He called me up and said, "Hey, can you bring your band here?" And I said, "Okay." And it turned into 18 years of me playing there every week, generally once a week, but sometimes we did a Friday and a Sunday, or we did Saturdays for a while until I actually told him we were doing Saturdays. I think 7 years of Saturdays. And I was just burning out because I would do Friday. This is when I was playing, you know, a lot of shows. There was one year when I was younger, I played over 300 shows in a year. So I was doing a lot of gigs. We were doing a lot of 6-night things. And then that gig, I was doing Saturday afternoons. So I'd play Friday night. We'd have to get to the club fairly early for a Saturday afternoon show, set up. And then I had another gig at night, tear down, go to the next show, set up, tear down, played a steady Sunday night elsewhere.
Oh,
So I did that for 7 years. And I finally said, "Pete, I can't do this anymore. My voice is gone. Like it's killing me. I'm worn out. My guys are worn out." So I said, "Can I try Sundays?" And he said, "Worst day of the week for us. Worst day of the week." And I said, "You got to let me try, or I'm just going to have to stop doing Saturdays because I can't. It's just not working out, you know." And it ended up being Sundays ended up pretty much the best day of the week at that club for 11 more years, you know. So it was really cool because word kind of got around, and people that worked at hotels, they would come in and then they would send guests down. So I met people from all over the place that were just coming to Pittsburgh to vacation or in for business or whatever. And it got to be one of those things where they would say, "Hey, go here, go here." And, and there I am on the bar. And I have to tell you how that ended up. I ended up on the bar because there was a guy. He was in the South Side, and he frequented the bars, you know, and he was a neat, gruff old guy named, they called him John the Greek.
Oh, wow.
And I had a wireless system, you know, and I would start up. The band's in a balcony up. Have you ever been in that club, Vito? It's where the Permane Brothers is in South Side.
Yeah.
There's a cigar bar there. Well, there was a balcony area where the band played. So I would go down into the crowd because I like being with people. I just do.
Yeah.
And they liked it. They liked it. But one day, John the Greek, he goes, "Get up on the bar." And I said, "What?" He said, "Get up on the bar." And I said, "Okay." So I struggled up onto the bar, and I got up there, and people went nuts. They went nuts.
Oh, wow.
So I got down off the bar, played the rest of the show. Next week, I go back. I do my thing. I go through the crowd. He's there. "Get up on the bar." And I did it again, and people went nuts again. And I ended up just staying up there because it was hard to get up and down off the bar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they ended up having a step stool that was there for me every gig. And
There you go.
I would start the show on the bar and finish the show. I just stayed on the bar, you
I
know,
was on the bar.
and it was,
That's a great
and
story.
I fell off twice in 18 years.
Oh, wow.
I used to tell the bartenders who in that picture, the guy is Pete Jr., Pete Gallagher Jr., so the owner's son. And
The
that
bar-
was Percy in the red.
Okay.
Percy was the coolest. She was the coolest person. She passed away too. And I would go in there, and every week she would give me a big kiss and say, I love you, honey. And she would grab me around the waist. And she was like, she's the only person that could grab me like that, that my wife wouldn't like freak out over. So she was just great. And what a character. And people, they were such good bartenders that was another thing. It wasn't just us. It was the whole vibe of the thing, man. People, the employees were great. It was just, it was a special gig. So that recording, the Live at the Blues Cafe, was recorded there just so we could document it, you know?
Right. And I have a video clip from Gone with the Wind, Live at the Blues Cafe, 25th anniversary edition. Let me play this for the audience here.
Thank you.
In life is a valuable thing. That's it. You taught me this one well. To you this token I bring. You know it's all over when you hear the violin sing. Well, my hearing's still good, the message is clear. No more sadness to me you bring. Well, I'm it should be a while, but now I see, oh, I'm gone without a wind, like a leaf in an autumn breeze. I'm gone without a wind. It took me a while, but now I'm free, and I'm gone without wind. Yeah, yes I am. I'm telling you, you can say bye to me. Yeah. Frankly, Scarlett, I don't give up.
Nice. Wow.
Thank you.
What a groove.
Thank you. Hey,
Great.
Speaking of groove, that would be the late, great Sonny Pugar on drums there. So,
okay.
Sonny was just a really great friend. And, you know, there was a fundraiser every year in his name. And his wife still has the Sonny Pugar Memorial Foundation. And they send people to the hospitals and such to entertain people that aren't well, and music's a real gift for people. So that's pretty cool. So that's Sonny. George Elliott playing bass. He's a great friend, a great bass player. Tommy Salyers on the keyboards. Curtis Swift, my dear friend, on saxophone on those tapes. And I do want to mention a couple other guys. I had a few different, it was recorded over several different gigs, you know, over the years. And so I had Ricky Dickerson, who's another dear friend of mine, on drums on one song, and another dear friend of mine, John Safera, who's a drummer from Warren, Ohio, who played in a band back in the 70s. They had a record deal on Decca Records called The Glass Harp. And there's a quite famous guitar player from that band, Phil Kagi, who's a great musician. So John's awesome. He's a great guy. Where I'm living now, I'm actually about a half an hour from him. So we got to get some lunch.
Yeah,
So
nice.
great. I was really blessed. All the people that I had play with me there were top notch. They were great.
Well, I have another clip from that Blues Cafe. This is a tune called Something's Gotta Give.
Okay.
Let me see. That's this one here. Let me.
There's a meet me halfway, and you will see. Honey, 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 I'm not your enemy. Oh, this is how we should live. Since something's gotta give, yeah. We've gotta give. It's time to find a common ground. Continuous struggle's gonna bag us down. Oh, this ain't really. Something's gotta give. Something's gotta give, baby. Hey, give it up now.
You had them on the edge of their seat there.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
That was very cool. Like you didn't think, you thought we were going to end it, but it didn't end.
Well, I was famous for the long drawn out endings, you know, lots of cadenzas and such, but
that's great. That's great. So, the Blues Cafe, what a gig. 18 years you were there. That's wonderful.
it was amazing in a lot of ways. And they even, had a really great party for my wife Kay and I when we got married. They had they like decorated the place like it looked like a banquet room all of a sudden. It was amazing. Yeah, that was the owners, Pete and Gigi Galamas. They were kind to us.
So let's talk about Voices Carry, Donnie Iris, you and Ricky Dickerson. And I do have a photo. Maybe you could tell us about this. Let me show this.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's an event that I always love to play. Actually, one of my old guitar students, Derek Bear is his name. And Derek is a mortgage broker and a really good-hearted, kind guy. And the Auberly Foundation is a charitable organization that's in the Catholic. Yeah. So wonderful. They do wonderful things. So this is an event that's happening. It happens every year. And I haven't done it since all this happened, but I support it wholly. And we guys like me, Ricky, Donnie, we'd get to perform together. That I think that's Joe Grishecki, I think, right to Donnie's left there with his back. Pretty sure that's Joe. And I've worked with Donnie before. We actually did the DVE morning show where I just played guitar. I played acoustic guitar and he sang Aaliyah.
Okay.
And we were at Nick's Fat City. Remember that club in Southside? And I have to tell you, I played a gig the night before and we had to be there at like 5 a.m. or something for this morning show to set up. And Beto, there were people that were partaking very early in the morning and they were very gonzo at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I just remember a guy screaming. He kept saying, "Donnie Iris, do you compute? Do you compute?" I think that's one of Donnie's songs. Do you compute? So, but anyway, I had a great time and I always had a nice time playing with Donnie. He's always been another one that's been very kind to my wife and I.
That's great.
And Ricky Dickerson, I can't say enough good about Rick. We've gone way back. I mean, Ricky Dickerson and I have been friends since probably about 1985, something like that. So, yeah.
Yep. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk for a moment about your Tone Poem project.
All right. So Tone Poems Volume 1. The reason it's Volume 1 is because I wrote enough in this sitting of writing these tunes. I wrote 2 CDs worth. I didn't try to. So I went through 1 year after my surgery, and the recovery for me was just really difficult. And I'm not here to bring anybody down, but it was just between having sepsis and this much surgery and it was really painful. And I had to be on antibiotics for 9 months, 3 months of a PICC line, slow healing. It took a whole year for the fusion to take place. So I have rods and screws and all that stuff. So first 6 months or so, I was pretty depressed and I'd watch musicians playing on YouTube and there'd be like tears streaming down my face because I couldn't even sleep in a bed. I had to sit up for 8 months and sleep in a reclining chair. So it was really kind of a low point. And I wasn't sure if I'd ever do any music ever again. Oh. And then I saw a St. Jude's commercial. And a St. Jude's commercial came on. And I thought, you know what, buddy? You better get your butt in gear. These kids, look what they have been afflicted with.
Yeah.
And some of these kids, if I dropped over like that day, I had a great life. Look at what I got to do. You're right. You know, so you got to pull yourself out of that woe is me thing. And those kids did that commercial. I just saw it and I thought, man, you got to get it together. Plus I have a great wife, so I owe it to her to get it together. You know what I mean? Sure. So it took a while, and by about the end of the first year, I was starting to pick my guitar up, you know, and wasn't teaching or anything yet. But I honestly, I'm a religious guy, so I felt like God spoke to me, and I set my alarm for 4 a.m. every day for 25 days. And I got up, and I'd get something little to eat and get my coffee and sit down with my guitar and a keyboard. And I wrote 25 songs in 25 days. So I had all these sketches of songs. And so the first Tone Poems, it's 11 out of 12 of those are brand new. And one is very old that I redid differently. And that would be the song in there that's called Rays of Hope, Not Far Away. So the rest of the stuff that was brand new. And so I have enough. I'm going to start the second one because I felt like those songs just came to me every day, you know, and a lot of it's based on me thinking about nature, thinking about things I loved on this planet. And so there's a song I think you're going to play called Moon Shadows. I wrote that for my neighbor across the street before we lost our home in Carroll Township where we lived. Her name was Betty. She's still alive. She's 97. She loves the moon more than anybody I could ever tell you. I used to buy her these moon calendars that had the different phases of the moon and stuff. Yeah. And she was great. Vito, she was like Mrs. Kravitz. I would go get my mail and she'd say, "Boy, you got in late last night, didn't you?" So she always knew what was going on. It was great. But I loved her. She's really kind and sweet. And so I wrote her that song called Moon Shadows. That's for her. I wrote a song for my brother. When my brother, he came and spent his last 2 months of his life with us in South Carolina. So we talked about spiritual stuff, a lot. And so the song called Spirit Trail was written for my brother, Victor. And things like Winter Park, you're going to play that one. I played a gig with this guy named Mike Ray, a great drummer out in Colorado. I played in Winter Park, Colorado. Their blues society brought me out to play a show up at a place called Smoke and Moe's. So I'm out there and I'm seeing that they're driving me around and I'm seeing, these roads with, these high mountains on the sides and they have these giant sticks and they're like 10 and 12 feet high. And I said, "What are those sticks for?" And they said, "That's so the snow plows can see where they're going when the snow flies. That's how deep it'll get." So I wrote that song. When you listen to it, I have an ostinato part that goes throughout the song. It's kind of like the snow falling throughout the tune. And it's really me imagining me driving as the snow is starting to fall. It's not deep at this point. You're able to drive your car and driving through the mountains with the snow falling. And so that's the kind of stuff that Tone Poems is. It's all instrumental because number one, I wasn't able to sing. It took me a while to get my voice back together because of the surgery. Okay. So it's all instrumental stuff and it's written mostly nature themes or things that are, people that are important to me,
Well, before we get to Moon Shadows first, I have two. I have one is a Tone Poem project after Voices Carry, Tony guitar solo with Rick Braun.
Oh yeah, that's we could whatever you want to do. Which
you want me to do that first?
You know what? Do the Rick Braun. I'll tell you why. Because let me tell you real quickly. On the CD, I did everything except I had 3 other people on there with me. Okay. I had Mike MacArthur, who's a great saxophone player. He's on several of the tunes. He's now playing saxophone with Gino Vanelli, but he's played with a lot of people. Occasionally, you'll see him sitting in with Tower of Power. So my great friend, Ron Reinhardt. I love this guy like he's my brother. And a guy that just is, again, like my brother is Curtis Swift. He's on there too. So those 3 guys are on the project. The rest of it is, me playing guitar and bass and keyboards and that sort of stuff. And the clip you're going to see is me playing with Rick Braun, trumpet player from War, has his own solo jazz career. And Mike MacArthur will be the saxophone player you see. And there's 2 other guys. They're from Florida. Dave Reinhardt, Ron Reinhardt, the keyboard player that's on my CD. It's his brother. Dave's a great drummer. And then a guy named Tim George, who's playing bass, great bass player. And then I'm trying to think. Well, we're going to go with that. Okay.
great.
That makes me laugh because I don't think Rick knew my age. So when he called me "that kid is good," I was like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. But
awesome.
yeah, that was in your neck of the woods now, Cape Coral. It was a concert there.
Yeah. Not far from us. That's about an hour from us, a little less. And then we have the Moon Shadows. You mentioned that Moon Shadows that you had written.
Okay.
And
that's
so,
Mike MacArthur playing saxophone with me on this song.
Okay, so let's play this one. This is good. Nice, beautiful.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's great tune.
Thank you.
Very, very nice. Very
Well,
nice.
you can thank Betty for that one.
Yeah. That's cool. So you mentioned this Curtis Swift many times throughout the podcast. And here I have a picture with you and Curtis.
Oh, yeah. That guy, Vito, I had so much fun and we made such good music together. I just love him. And can I tell you the story on how I met him? It's actually really funny because without naming the person that canceled on me, and I love this guy too. So here's what happened. At the time, my band didn't have a steady sax player, but I would get a sax player. So I had a bride to say, I want you to play in my wedding, but you have to have a sax player. And I said, okay. So I called the guy that I normally use a year in advance. And I said, hey, mark this date down. Are you good? And he said, yep, I'm good. I'll take it. So I kept checking in with him like 6 months. I said, hey, you're still good for that gig, right? Oh, yeah, I'm good. 3 months out, I'm great. I'm good. Don't worry. I'm there.
Yeah.
A month out, everything's good. You're worrying for nothing. The week of the gig, I screwed up, Tony. I can't do the show. And I'm calling everybody, every sax player that I know. Everybody's booked. So a guy says, hey, call this guy, Curtis Swift. He's new in town. He might be open. And I called him, and he had a really strong Southern accent, and he's talking to me, and he says he can do the gig, and he says, you want me to bring my duck? And I said, what? Do you want me to bring? What was that last word you said? He goes, you want me to bring my duck? And I said, I'm sorry, I'm just not getting that last word. And he goes, you want me to bring my tuxedo? He was saying tux. He was saying tux, but I couldn't understand him. So he shows up. And at the time, here's what's crazy. We were playing like a lot of 6-night-a-week shows. So because we were a guitar-driven band, I started tuning down a half step. So I was an E flat instead of E.
Oh.
So a lot of the songs like that are normally in normal keys for like a horn player, they're a half step lower than maybe where they were, right? Sure. So when I told him, his eyes were like, you know, he did a great job. It was like you would never know that they were in different keys for the guy. He did such a good job. So we are such good friends. We were in a 10-piece band for a little while together, and they used to call me the Curtis Whisperer because of his accent. They couldn't understand what he was saying. So they'd say, what do you say, Tony? And so they called me the Curtis Whisperer. But I love this guy. I can't tell you what a great man he is. He's not just a great musician, but the guy's just salt of the earth, good people. You know what I mean? Yes. So
that's wonderful.
I can't tell you enough. He and his wife, Wanda, they're just great.
And you mentioned this young lady a couple of times through the show, too.
Oh, yeah. That young lady's my wife, Kay, who's Vito for me. I mean, she's a saint. I mean, man, she has gone through some stuff. I mean, nothing that we caused, you know, nothing. We've never had any issues between us, but like all the stuff she had to deal with, especially when we first moved to South Carolina. I mean, we lost our home that we loved where we were, which was bad enough. But then to start over, and then she's in a home with just boxes. Nothing's open. We have no furniture really that's there yet. I mean, I'm in the hospital. First 3 days, they didn't know if I was going to live because I had sepsis. They weren't sure if it damaged my heart. So she stuck by me. She was my personal nurse. She's the one that gave me the PICC line 3 days or 3 times a day for 3 months. I mean, she was that. So she's been with me through thick and thin, and I can't say enough good about her. She's beautiful all the way around, inside out. I mean, and I inherited a great family. Her family's just tremendous. So I'm very, very thankful.
There you go. I'm in the same boat because my wife is the same thing. I mean, she's been, of course, a big help in my career. I mean, she gave up her career to manage my career, basically.
That's great.
And all of my friends and all of my musician friends call her Saint Lana.
See, that's it. Well, you know, it's funny because when Kay, if she does hair in nursing homes, so
oh wow,
she used to have a job that was great for us because she would work Monday through Thursday. So she was around for any of the weekends shows or anything else like that, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. She was there. If she missed a show, you'd think that they would like, okay, it's cool you're here, but like, where's Kay? You know, like, I mean, I think she was more important than I was. To be honest, it was kind of like people loved her so much that they missed her when she wasn't there. You know, so I'm you know, I can't say enough good. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure I'd be here if my wife weren't with me at this point after what I went through and how low I was. She's a constant encourager. You know, she's just really, really great. So
and I know you would do the same for her if it was reversed.
I would, and actually I have. She's, you know, we all as human beings, we are going to have our points where we have low times, you know. So we are good that way. We are a team always. You know, and so are you and your wife, and that's one of the things I'm most grateful for, you know.
Yeah. So Tony, tell me about, we mentioned this before, the clip from Winter Park. I want to play that video.
That's another tone. That's the first song on the Tone Poem CD, actually, song number 1, and that was written in honor of Winter Park, Colorado. That's me imagining the snow because I played there in August. Thankfully.
The one with the ostinato. That's the
Yes, that's
flowing.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Let
And
me
that's Curtis. Curtis is on the song with me, Curtis Swift.
Okay. There you go. Wow. Very nice. Beautiful. Yeah, that's really cool.
Thanks.
That's amazing. 25 songs in 25 days.
Yep.
That's incredible.
I mean, I didn't record them. I've just wrote them. You know what I mean? I wrote the basically the sketches of them, and then that's.
Sometimes you just don't know. You know, when things start to roll, you can't stop. And I experienced that when I wrote my first symphony in 8 weeks, and it was like 38 minutes and 4 movements for full orchestra, and I recorded it and composed and recorded it in like 8 weeks. And I'm like,
and I heard it, and it's, if people haven't heard it, you must go and hear it, because it's awesome. It's by the way, can I say one thing? Vito, you're a really accomplished musician, and so if people that are here know me and don't know you, Vito is really top notch, and his band We Three was, I mean, they were just great. I mean, and you were one of the busiest people that I knew, right? You were busy all the time.
We Three, 49 years with We Three, yeah.
Yeah. So, but your symphony, I listened to it on YouTube. Yeah, actually,
it was a similar experience, because once I started, I couldn't stop. It just kept flowing. Yeah. The creativity.
I kind of feel like that's God working. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I do, because there's no. It was like the stuff just appears, right? It just starts flowing, and so
the proof in the pudding is when you go back to listen to it after you haven't heard it for a while, and you listen to it and you say, "How did I do that? Where'd that come from?"
Right. No, I believe that. I know for me, that's why for me to do the whole thing was cathartic for me, because I was in a very low place, and I honestly was questioning whether I'd even stay doing any music at all, because I was physically not well, and it, it just was just, devastating to me to be in the condition I was in at the moment. So I have to attribute it to God working magic through me,
No question about it. So I have this picture here. I want to show you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I'm a guy that was known for, jazz stuff and blues stuff, so this is, they gathered the Pittsburgh blues people at the time, and there's a bunch of well-known people. In fact, a guy that I got to do some shows with who I loved was Glenn Pavone. He's in the corner there. That he passed away way too young, and great guitar player. He played guitar for Billy Price. So you see Billy there in the sunglasses, and then next to him with Chismo Charles, right? Yep. And so there's a lot of people in that picture. The blues greats in Pittsburgh. Gary Baloma's in the back there, Jill West, and I'm not calling myself a great. I'm thankful I'm in that picture, but that was supposed to be, at the time they gathered what they thought were some of the top people in the blues scene, so I'm glad to be in that picture.
You're definitely qualified, Tony. You're definitely qualified to be in. Definitely. Yeah. So I have one more final video that I'd like to play, and this is called Woodshed Wednesdays compilation, I guess.
Okay. So can I tell you about that?
Tell us about it. Yeah. And if you have anything else story-wise you want to share, this is
well, the Woodshed Wednesdays came about because when the pandemic hit, nobody had gigs. People were contacting me and saying, "Oh, we wish we could hear you." That's because they're used to getting to hear you play live. They go to a place and they're sitting in the audience with you. So a couple of my friends encouraged me to start doing these shows. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do them on Wednesday, and I'm going to call it from the wood, woodshedding, like a musician woodsheds and practice. That's our term for, practicing. Sure. So I called it Woodshed Wednesdays, and I started doing these shows, and it was actually really cool. And I didn't give you any of the vocal tunes on there because I didn't want you to have to deal with copyright issues because they weren't originals there. I just gave you some instrumental stuff. That way you wouldn't get slammed with a YouTube copyright strike or notice or something. But I did these shows, and it was great, and people were cool, and they actually helped us through a rough period because they started sending some tips in for us, So I'm going to do some more things like that with my YouTube channel. It's going to have some entertainment, some instructional, and also I think some things maybe that may help people through some hard times, since I figured there's things that I got through. Maybe I can share some of the things that helped me get through them. And but that's what you're going to see are the guitar oriented, some clips from the Woodshed Wednesday show.
Okay. fabulous. Wow. You know, I got to tell you, the second song, which was the slower kind of tune, is reminded me of a guest that I had on the program here, who is a guy, a bass player that I toured with in South Africa. His name is Trevor Dongenet. Trevor,
Okay.
and he writes his own music, and he's like kind of like that old R&B, like Al Green style. He's a
Cool.
great singer, and he does a solo gig now. Most of the time, he played with an international guy from South Africa named Johnny Clegg, who, if you listen to him and you listen to Paul Simon's album with Late in the Evening, and that the one he went to South
Oh,
Africa.
is that the Graceland?
Yeah,
Graceland.
Graceland.
Graceland? Yeah.
It's called Graceland. You would pick up where Paul Simon got all his ideas for that album, because it's Johnny Clegg. That's what he did, that style. And Trevor toured with him all over the world for several years. And unfortunately, this Johnny Clegg passed away, but a great singer and guitar player and things. But anyhow, Trevor, he plays his bass, and he does a solo gig now in South Africa. And he plays, he has his tracks. He makes all the tracks himself. And then he plays bass and sings, and it's great. And I mean, he does solos just like you did on that ballad. It was
That's
like
awesome. I got to check him out. I haven't watched that episode yet.
Oh yeah, check it
But
out.
I did get to watch the one with Eric DeFade.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, I love the DeFade families,
Yeah.
the whole family. And Ray actually played drums on one of my earlier CDs. Ray
Oh.
Jr.
Ray Jr. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was my drummer.
He's a
with
great drummer.
maybe 7 years or so. He was with We3. Yeah,
Yeah, their whole family's
It's
uber
one of my
talented.
favorite drummers on the planet, Ray
Yeah.
DeFay. Yeah, yeah.
Funny,
Yeah.
he's a funny guy too. He has a dry sense of humor.
I don't know if you saw it, but right before the Christmas break, I had about 9 or 10 members of the group on, and between Ray and Greg Granick, and there's somebody else, Ernie Pontier, of course.
Yeah,
The 3 guys are all a hoot,
they are funny. I did watch that. It was great. Your show's great. You're doing a wonderful thing by doing this.
Thank you. And Tony, it's been an honor to have you on the show.
My pleasure. Oh, what
Yeah.
a joy.
Thank
And in
you.
fact, you're going to have to repay me. I have to repay you, I should say, because I want you to have eventually I'm going to have something where I interview some people on my YouTube channel. So I'd love to have you on so we can expose your great music. Like, I know you have music that has been used in a film or two. So
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
if you would do me the honor, I would love to have you on too.
In the heartbeat. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I appreciate it. And you take care.
Thank you. You
Have a
too,
great
Vito.
evening. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And there you have it, another episode of Memories of Musician with Tony Janflone Jr. What a fabulous guitar player, singer, composer. He does all the producing of the mixing and mastering, and does everything. Wonderful to see him again, and I'm glad he's on the mend health wise. Looking ahead to next Wednesday, and I'm not doing this intentionally, but I try to mix things up. But it turns out I'm going to have another guitarist on the show. Be sure to tune in to meet my special guest, LA guitarist, composer, and producer Brian Senator, originally from West Mifflin, Pennsylvania, and a former music technology student of mine. Brian now resides in Los Angeles and makes his living exclusively as a composer and guitarist. Brian Senator is an artist who seamlessly blends R&B, soul, and neo-soul with progressive elements, creating a sound that is both familiar and innovative. While rooted in R&B and soul, his versatility shines through his experience composing in many genres for film and TV. A truly collaborative artist, Senator's work with musicians across the spectrum, from jazz trumpeters to rock musicians, highlights his ability to work across different sounds and genres. The podcast will be streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Brian Senator on Memories of a Musician at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, January 21st. Thank you very much, and you have a great evening.